Welcome to How to Set Your Tension on a Long Arm. My name is HollyAnne, Knight of String and Story, and it's my job to guide you to quilt with confidence. Let's go through a few basic steps together to know how you can make sure you're going to get beautiful stitching on the front and back of your quilts when working on a long arm. Step one is that you're going to want to adjust your bobbin tension. I know, when we work on our domestics, we just don't touch that. But when it comes to working on something like a long arm, a more industrial style machine, that pop-in bobbin race needs to be adjusted with something called a toa gauge. Now you're going to want to use your toa gauge in order to adjust your bobbin tension to be between 190 and 220 micronewtons. I have a whole tutorial on this that you can access on my blog if you need more information. All right. Your next step is going to be on your machine itself. Once you've adjusted that bobbin race, we've threaded the machine. If you're unsure about how to thread your machine, or if you're new to working on your machine, or you've been having a lot of tension issues, rethread your machine and review your manual to make sure it's threaded correctly. There's just all those little things it's easy to miss. It happens to all of us. So fresh thread, fresh needle, freshly adjusted bobbin case. We've now narrowed down the possible things to go wrong, and we're ready to start stitching. Now, I like, if I'm doing a big tension adjustment, to work with just a piece of scrap fabric like this and do some swirls. Maybe even some squares. Shapes like squares and swirls are really excellent for adjusting our tension because they have points and they have curves, and that's where tension issues are going to show up. All right. If you're working on an actual quilt, always make sure you leave 4, 5, 6 inches of extra batting and backing over to the side, and you can literally run a piece of scrap fabric down the side to test your tension before you move on to the body of your quilt. All right. Now that we have done a little bit of test stitching, let's just simply move our machine to the side. We'll have big long threads. We can snap those off. And let's take a look at the back of our quilt. You can see here, my stitches on the front are looking nice and defined. What is going on the back? All right, so our stitching that we just did together is actually looking pretty nice. I can see a little bit of pulling here at the corners and at the point. Those eyelashes on the back tells me I need to tighten my top tension a little bit. So on my machine, I have this manual knob here on the side. I will turn it away from me, that's righty-tighty, just a little tiny bit to tweak this up, all right? And you can see over here, I was doing some stitching earlier. This is what it looks like when your top tension is really, really loose. And if you happen to be working on a domestic, or you have a long arm where you manually raise and lower the foot, tension that's all gnarly like this can also mean that you forgot to lower your presser foot. Now, it's easy to freak out if we see big, heavy eyelashing like this, but if you're in the process of testing your tension, it's actually really good information because it tells you exactly what's going on and how to fix it. Let's run one more quick little test and see if we can tighten up those little eyelashes from the corner that I have. All right, I've pinned my quilt back into place, and you'll notice I'm using this clip on the side just to make sure everything stays nice and tight. So I'm going to turn this knob a little bit righty-tighty, and we'll run one more quick test to see if we can get some cleaner stitches. All right, you see this time I added in some switchbacks. It's because I know I'm getting ready to work on a quilt that has some switchbacks. And again, those corners and tight curves are a great place to see if something is going sideways with your tension. All right, We still have a slight little tug. I know that this can feel very mundane to have to go back and forth over and over again, but doing this when you're getting started is an incredibly important step because it's gonna save you a lot of heartbreak later on. So let's take one more whack at this and see how we can do. I recommend loading a little practice piece like this anytime you're changing threads, or if you're brand new to your machine and you're just still learning how to adjust tension on your long arm. And then utilize a little practice piece of fabric to the side every single time you're working on your long arm. I've added a little bit more tension. So you notice I did one swirl way up here and then I kind of moved my way down. I'm gonna assume that that swirl, my machine was kind of settling into the new settings that I gave it. So we'll look down here to see how these adjustments are doing. Oh, we're looking nice and crisp. Look at that. We don't have any eyelashes on our curves anymore. We don't have eyelashes at the center of our swirl. Nice defined stitches. It looks the same on the front and back. And we are now ready to quilt.